smooth and clean our tipper blade. Must be the best haircut you ever had, dude.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Sai.
Say that again.
Sai.
Sai?
Yep.
I'm JD, by the way.
Nice to meet you, JD.
Okay, again, back to this back. Okay, somebody was talking about going too high a while ago.
KK.
Yeah. So how I just keep doing that, I just never put my tip of my blade always at that parietal ridge, not off tip and bow. I always just come straight up, kind of flick out.
How do you judge, like, where you need, like, how high you need to go? Is it the ridge?
Yep, your parietal ridge.
Yeah, you
And
follow
also
the
the bone in
ridge.
the back, you know, where the spine meets the skull, right there.
Okay.
Spell it as best I can. Probably gonna go back and be like, what is this word?
I think that's how you spell it. I think that's it.
Again, working that front corner. Leave that corner there. Okay. Now we're going to go towards 0, which this is a triple aught. You do make a 4-aught that's a little tighter, but it's so close it will cut. So we got to go careful. Again, remember like I told you guys that weren't here this morning. So what I just did is I set in my maximum length. Was I went to the 3.5. By doing so, I cleared a lot of hair out of my way so I can see what I'm doing, as well as I've already got that third zone set so I can move on and do other things. So now I'm going to set in my 0 into my zone 1. Remember, I go up just right at the temple region where the hairline makes the curve right about center. Because you're going to come up a little bit with it later on, and you're going to blend it out. Keep everything combed down. This is key. You see me combing a lot. This is very important. See, right about there. Now that somebody asked about how high to come up, here in just a little bit I want to show you for your first zone how to do this. I'm going to come back here. Okay, everybody see the back? I'm going to show you guys here. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to do this. I'm going to come straight around like this, okay? And here in a minute, I'm going to bring it back around and we'll blend it out and I'll show you. All right, what I was telling the ladies over here on this side. So see how I'm coming down at an angle? I come all the way over here, right? So I'm just going to work from right over here to the top of the ear. And I'm going to bring that and match that line up, like that. Okay? It don't got to be perfect right now. This is just this rough draft. We're going to sketch it in and make it all pretty later. Okay. See what I did there? Okay? I've done that side. Now I'm going to move on to my other side. See what I did? All right?
Busy.
Sorry. Doing the same thing. Certainly all off the food, dude. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here, now that I'm working my way around, now I'm gonna make this meet it, okay? And then, now I just round it out. Everybody see what I did there? I mean, it's not center, it don't gotta be, okay? You just wanted to make sure you didn't get wonky, because that's what you just prevented doing. Now I just kind of take it, round it out, like so. See? Something like that. It's not perfect. We'll do that later. We'll make it perfect later. For now, we're just getting it set in. Okay, when you are doing a fade like this, clean is very imperative. So I'm gonna put in this rough draft, and I'm gonna get rid of most of this hair, and then I'm gonna go scrubbing really good. See how I'm flicking that in the, it's in the wrist. That little light flick, you're just flicking that ridge out. Okay.
I have a question.
Huh?
So when you did that, did you?
What guard was it? Is that what you were gonna ask?
Yes.
Me too. I was
What
confused.
were
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started with a 3.5 blade. And you're welcome to come up here and like look at this
Okay.
if you want to check it out. And then I went to a 0, triple up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I came back in between them with a 1.
With a 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Between a half.
Now, if I was doing him a 1 fade, like we did earlier this morning, you weren't here this morning, I don't think.
No.
I did a 1 here, and I did this center with a 1.5.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a softer fade, not quite as tight or aggressive. So just kind of finding that middle ground. I mean, you could play with it 1, 1.5, 2. Kind of figure out what works for certain different hairs. It'll fluctuate and change. Sometimes I even go as tight as like a 0.5 in between them. So it just kind of depends on the haircut and how you're doing it, how you're bringing it up.
So if you want like a harsher, like fade, then you would do it.
Yeah, then you would go ahead and probably bring your 0 a little higher,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would bring your like 1 through here, and you'd probably only do this at like a 2
Okay.
Alright.
versus a 3.5.
Yeah.
Okay, this question is for you, buddy. Water, as well as he's a big advocate for not wasting shipping materials. So that's why his products are packaged like they are, because if you get a box from Kevin Murphy, it's full to the top. There's no waste. He's a huge advocate on that sort of thing. So he's a really good guy, does a lot
Well
for
done, I was
around the
on that.
world. But he knows how to make that money, that's for sure.
That's where the salon that I'm going to. That's all they use is Kevin
Kevin
Murphy.
yeah.
So
Well, like she was mentioning, she has extensions. If you're going to have extensions, you want to spend the money on your product. Because if you bought the hair, a lot of time that hair piece, you can have $600, $700, $800 in your hair. You don't want to use a $10 bottle shampoo on it, right? All right. So now that I've got him fresh and clean, we're just going to kind of do some little detail work before I start the blend because I still need a shaving. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and set his hard part in because I am going to do his bald fade. So, anybody, y'all do bald or hard parts yet? Feel comfortable with a razor? Or if you're not comfortable with a straight blade, you know the little lady trimmers, the little safety razors, work great for a hard part. Really crisp that line and really make it more than just a trimmer alone. And you can legally have those, in your station. All right, so for his hard part,
No,
I like
we
to
can't.
have
We
these
cannot.
little finger razors
Yeah.
here.
Or I wonder if it's just because it's a straight edge.
No, it's gonna have a
That's weird that we can dermaplane, but we can't use straight edge razor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dumb.
Yeah.
Can
Literally, the
dermaplane.
only difference in our license is cosmetologists can do nails and a barber can do a straight razor.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You both do chemical texture, chemical services, color, you whole 9 yards. So much cooler, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, to set his hard part in, keep your head still straight, young man. I'm gonna really
Here we go.
comb his section, right? And how I determine which side I'm gonna take the hair from. You see how in this part line, this hair is really wanting to kind of push over like that, right? So I'm gonna, with the front of this hard part, I'm gonna get that out of there. That is in turn gonna help him style his hair easier. He's not gonna have to use as much product, and you're just eliminating that cowlick area. Now the rest of it though seems to be pretty good. So as I gradually go back, instead of taking out of this section of hair, I want to take my hard part out of this section of hair once I get to the back, because it's wanting to raise this way. Does that make sense? Stretch it a little tight. See, now I'm kind of taking, oh, don't move. It's always when you are doing stuff like this, it's good to keep a hand on their head, because people just naturally, even when they're chewing gum, I had to have them stop chewing gum because it's moving their fade line. Okay, now, for a hard part, I don't use really any shave gel or anything like that. I just kind of use, you know, the moist, I don't even want to say it, the dampness of the hair. I said something else, but you can use a comb. You don't necessarily have to. But now we're going to just kind of go like stretch that scalp tight like that. And just kind of work your line. The nice crisp edge.
Yeah.
How far do you know, like, when to stop? Like, how far do you go back?
You can kind of go back as far as you want. Typically, every guy has a cowlick or a growth circle, so I just like to kind of come back to that crown point where it starts to turn. You know, some guys may want a little short one. Some guys may want it to come all the way back. You know, if you have more like the disconnect loop. So it's just kind of whatever works best for you and your client. And then just like that, you got a hard part. So that, and then I just kind of take my fine tooth of my comb, and I just kind of get all that out of there. 300. No, there
I thought
actually
it
are
was
some
too.
schools that are doing that, and they got in trouble.
Oh.
Good
Because
to
they were
know.
doing it to get your money.
200 extra hours. Yeah.
Mhm.
You get 8-hour days there, don't you? I bet. Fine.
So here I'm just connecting this ridge here into his upper length. We're going to start blending out the fade here shortly. I just like to get this hair out of my way so it's not hanging down. I can really see, you know, my gradient. You guys heard gradient?
Mm-hmm.
You probably worked on a little bit of that with coloring and stuff when you first get started. Practice your scissor over comb with your men's cuts. Not only is it going to save time, you're just going to get a lot smoother result at the end out of your haircut. Really practice that scissor over comb technique and clipper over comb. Because you can just section. I'll get this out of my way and get it out of his face a little bit so it's not dripping water down his face. If you weren't here this morning, I'm just connecting this back right here, same way I did the sides with the vertical connection, but then I'm going to take and I'm going to move up towards the crown using a pie slice or a wagon wheel. See that growth pattern right here? He's going to be a good candidate for a little trick I need to show you later that will get rid of all this. But so I'm going to take again 45 off the crown, right? Section it out. We're going to work around taking our wagon wheel. Remember taking that last section, see, so you don't miss that corner. Okay, get a lot of that out of the way. Now, I'm going to blend him out. So, we went to 0, and we went to a 1, and then we went to 3.5. So we got to make all that look like one smooth, even haircut, right? So I'm going to start with, we'll jump around a little bit from side to side. So if I don't mention anything, be sure and say, hey, what are you doing? But I'm going to start with a half all the way closed, all the way tight, right? Okay. Pull it tight. Pull the skin tight. And just kind of work that shelf out of it. Remember, point cut right here. See how he dips in? You don't want to leave a shadow right through there. So use that corner of your clipper. Pull it back tight. And really dip in there with it. Again, over the ear, X marks the spot, right? So I'm going to go this way. And then I'm going to go this way. Now we're not looking for perfect this first time. We're just going to work around and we're going to gradually get more and more detailed. It's like a painting. Painting just ain't a masterpiece at first, right? It takes a little bit. It's a little erasing and refining and shading and a little color here and there. You're an artist and the clipper is your brush. Did you know that the first clipper was not made for people? It was made for livestock, and that they realized that barbers were using it for people, so they decided to make a people clipper. Because they were using their horse clippers to cut the kids' hair, and hair.
Yeah, horse clippers are like that long piece. They're huge.
Step back from your haircut every once in a while too, because it looks different. And the mirror won't lie to you. Use your mirror. Kind of check, make sure, kind of keeping this fade line even. I'm a little low over here, which is fine. We're still working out the fade. But always use your mirror. And if you got a jacked up fade line, Mary's gonna say, hey, look at this big old shadow you got right here. Where your eyes are like, man, that looks nice. What? Okay, here's the tricky part. Now when we're getting tight, we're getting down to 0. So these grooves in the back of my clipper, you see that? It's not just there to look cool. It actually serves a purpose. That is a blending blade. So the deeper these are, and the more refined they are, the better of a blending clipper you're going to have. Like a lot of your basic clippers, you see here on my fixed blades, they're not really all that deep, right? Just kind of real shallow. That's just to kind of guide the hair in the right direction. But these are a lot more tightly packed and a lot more refined. It's more of a blending clipper. So we're just going right there at that little ridge there. See, guys? So you see the line? So I'm going to pull tight. Just going to work that ridge out. Switch to a little bit of a finer comb. Look down. So what I did there, I wanted to go up a little bit higher than where I was actually blending. You hear me click? I just opened my clipper. So here, I'm closed, I'm tight. I wanted to blend more here. So I'll open that blade up to create that angle up. So as I'm going up, I'm just constantly working this close and shut as I go to each number. I'm checking back here. When I look here, I'm making sure this is a nice flow. And I can see from my hair that I'm just a little bit heavy still yet. Right into his one region. So I just put a guard on. You know, I'll go from a raw clipper. Let's try the one. Cut by the crunch. So you see, you can hear it. It's taking something off. When it stops crunching, just move on, move somewhere else. This is how you just get that nice, soft transition, that nice, smooth gradient from light to dark out of your fade. Again, I opened up my blade from being closed so I can move a little higher with that one link. Okay, that's all I'm going to do there. I want to refine a little bit more with some scissors and a comb in a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and cut his top before we do his bald fade. Because we could just call this a nice 0 fade and stop here and shave his neck up, but we're going to go one step further. Now for a bald fade in my shop, what I'm about to do here, I will charge this gentleman $40 just